Hello and welcome to NFL Insights Betting Preview. This is the NFL Week 1 betting preview, and we're taking a look at the Packers' visit to the 49ers this week. As you can see, the Packers are around 15 for the Super Bowl this year, 14-1, and the 49ers are around an 8-1 chance. Those two sides having really good chances to return into the big game, which of course this year is in New York, in the, well, it could be very, very cold Meadowlands this year. The top seeding betting there is also there. That's to win the conferences and the divisional betting as well. The Packers favourites for their division, taking on the Vikings, Bears and Lions in that NFC North, and in the NFC West the 49ers are 2.2 to win that division. They're matchbook prices who we'll be using this year. The 49ers, of course, have a good head-to-head this year with the Seattle Seahawks, and those two will be heading the batting for the NFC West. But the Packers and the 49ers, well, let's take a look at this game. Again, we're using the matchbook prices this year. That's the money line on this game. The Packers 3.1 to back, 3.2 to lay, and the 49ers at 1.45, 1.47 to lay. We'll put those prices in context for you later with our master tissue prices, which we produce here every week on NFL Insight, and they're available at our Insiders Club each week for each game to judge how well our prices match up with what's out there in the market and offer you value. We'll show you that a little bit later on. The handicap, 4.5 points the Packers have got to give away on their trip out to the West Coast. That looks about right. That line hasn't moved. It's 4.5 when it first went up. It's been pretty solid all the way through, and that will leave the two sides very, very close together. Moving on, the unders and overs. These two sides have combined in the last couple of games. Well, they've had a few, both few games have had a few points available in them in those last couple of games. But this looks, well, an early season game. I'm not quite sure that both offenses will be in control yet, but there could be a few points if we get going early. But I'd probably be siding towards the under here at 1.94. To back on this occasion. It just looks to me just one of those games that could be tight in the first half as both sides sound each other out. Reflections, well, those two games that I've just spoken about, 30-22 and 45-31 last year, both to the 49ers. Now that was in week 1 and in the divisional playoffs, and of course the read option was the big play of last year, the big buzzword in the NFL. In future podcasts, I'll explain what the read option actually is, but it really looks like when the quarterback is really giving, sometimes handing off to the running back or sometimes keeping it. And Colin Kaepernick, who wasn't even a starter for the 49ers last year, well, he was the real catalyst to change for the 49ers. They went with Alex Smith at the start of the year. Kaepernick came in week 10 after an injury to Alex Smith. And in that playoff game, well, the Kaepernick statistics, well, they'll be burned deep into the memory of Dom Capers, the Green Bay defensive coordinator. 263 yards passing, 181 yards rushing. That's an NFL record for a quarterback. He accounted for 4 TDs and tore the Green Bay defense to shreds, especially against the run, either with his own legs or those of Frank Gore, the running back. So, the match dynamics. Well, let's have a look. The Packers, what do they have to do to win this game? Well, can they run the ball effectively? Well, last year, they didn't do it very well. Week 1, Aaron Rodgers, he ran for 27 yards. He was the leading rusher. That's their quarterback. And in the divisional games, Juwan Harris ran for 53 yards as the Packers only had 104 yards total rushing. It's true they were up against a really good run defense this year, but they can't abandon the run game here. They're going to have to try and run this ball, and it's a vital facet of the game. They drafted well this year, 2 running backs they drafted. Eddie Lacy came in from Alabama, and Jonathan Franklin also came in the 4th round. They spent 2 high draft picks. Expect the Packers to run the ball a little bit more this time. Can they, will they, stop or control the read option? 579 yards were given up by Green Bay in that divisional game last time out. 181 yards came from Colin Kaepernick, as I said before, most in NFL history by a quarterback. Dom Capers' D was blindsided by the speed and volume of the attacks. They really do have to get on top of that this time. The Packers have been trying to address this problem and visited Texas A&M in the summer, a college side with plenty of experience in that discipline. They also drafted well. Round 1, they took a very, very quick fast and athletic defensive end in Tony Jones to try and combat those read option plays that San Francisco will use. They better be prepared. They better be prepared how they will face their read option and banish those 5-7-9 and 1-8-1 numbers to the memory. Big part of the game for Green Bay is passing. Now they need balance in the offense, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them use tight end Jermichael Finley a little bit more. Jermichael is a bit like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him, and I'm sure some fantasy players actually hate him from last year, but he does create matchup issues. He underperformed last year, but he has had a strong pre-season. And just at the wide receiver position this year, the Packers do have a few problems with Randall Cobb's been injured, and they've had a couple of other injuries as well. So I just wonder whether they might use Jermichael Finley a little bit more in the offense this year, especially in the red zone. And I'd certainly have a look for him in the anytime or first-time touchdown scorer markets. He's been getting quite a good hookup with quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The kicking game last year was a disaster for Green Bay. Mason Crosby, their kicker last year, he must have missed, he missed a large percentage of his field goals, nearly 40% he actually missed. He was actually running at about 60-odd% with his field goals last year. That will kill you in a tight game, which this could really be. He's fought off about 3 rivals in the kicking game this year, in matchups in practice and in pre-season, and he still holds the job. So let's hope that Mason Crosby is a little bit better this year, but it might be worth taking him off in some of the kicking markets. We haven't actually seen him kick that well in what is a pressure situation for quite some time. Although in the other side of the game, Tim Mastay is a very, very good punter for the Green Bay Packers, and expect to see him used quite a lot in that facet of the game to try and pin the 49ers pretty deep. The biggest part of this game for Green Bay is, can they keep Aaron Rodgers upright? If Aaron Rodgers gets injured for the Packers this year, it could well be game over and curtains. They haven't really got an effective backup. At the moment they're using Seneca Wallace. They've been tried out several backups throughout the year, including Vince Young, but he was sent packing, and the O-line had problems, especially at left tackle, protecting Aaron Rodgers last year. He was actually sacked 51 times last year, and it'll be rookie left tackle David Bacatry who will be facing Aldon Smith on Saturday. Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers must be kept upright for the Packers to even get close to the 49ers here. For the 49ers, well, they must strangle the Packers' run game and make them one-dimensional. Teams who played the 49ers last year ran the ball well. Teams who did well against the 49ers last year ran the ball well. Teams like Minnesota, the Giants, Seattle Seahawks, Baltimore Ravens, they all ran the ball well, and you cannot go away from the run. The Packers will try and run the ball, and it'd be up to the 49ers to try and strangle them. They've also got to wear down the Packers' defense. They must do that. They've got a mobile defense this year. Clay Matthews to Tony Jones they brought in. But they must use that read option. Expect Kaepernick to use his legs again, to use the read option, and to confuse and discombobulate even the defense of the Packers. They will be trying to wear them down. Big loss for the 49ers in the pre-season was Michael Crabtree, their leading wide receiver, with a Achilles injury. He's out for the year, but that will force them to use Vernon Davis, who they went away from a little bit last year, but then Kaepernick started to get a good connection with him. And like Green Bay, Vernon Davis, their tight end, the 49ers tight end, could well be a big part of the scoring game. Look for him. I'd look for him in all the player markets, whether that's racking up yardage, catching yards, or even in touchdown scorer markets. He will be a big part of their offense. If they have a threat wide receiver, it will be from Anquan Boldin, but he does have separation issues, but he is a very, very safe pair of hands. So look for him when the 49ers are down in the red zone. Kicking game, again, 49ers had problems last year. David Akers was a bit of a disaster then. They now have Phil Dawson from the Cleveland Browns. He was 14 years at the Browns. He kicked very well for the Browns last year. Field goals, 29 out of 31 last year, 7 from 50 yards plus. Very, very safe kicker. You can get odds on a long field goal for the San Francisco 49ers. and they get an opportunity. Phil Dawson is your man. Very, very, very good. Traditional game. They must still play. They mustn't get hooked into playing too much read option. The 49ers have still got a very good running back in Frank Gore, who I think they will use quite a lot. And rather always using Kaepernick with the read option, I'd go back to a more traditional game via Frank Gore and just run the ball at the 49ers. Not only does that control the clock, it also puts Gore in control of the game. He's a very good running back. Again, short yardage situations down near the goal line. Frank Gore is the man who will be gone to. They have to defend their vulnerable secondary, though. They've got a rookie corner, rookie safety, even in Eric Reed in the lineup, and he must. I'm sure the Packers are going to attack him at every single possibility. He's a rookie free safety. They've got some depth at cornerback, but he will be attacked. So look for the Packers to. I think they will go to the air. I think this will be a game with points once we settle down. I think the two sides in the first quarter probably the first half will be finding and feeling each other out. There'll be a lot of finding out, and I'd expect the second half to be an explosion of points. I'd rather take the second half as the bigger point scoring one there. We've got some trading stats for you this year. All this year in the Insiders Club at NFL Insight, we've got some wonderful trading stats, including the in-play sheets as well. Those are all included in your subscription. And all these sort of stats are available in all the games that we trade and all the games that we play. And you can see there, scoring first, if you're looking for prices, 36% of the scoring first is touchdowns by San Francisco. Green Bay, a little bit more conservative with a 20% touchdown rate, and San Francisco field goals 23%. If they're leading, what do you do with sides who are leading? How safe are they? Do you want to trade out? Do you want to cash in? Cash out, I think, is the popular phrase these days. And how good are sides in tight games? Well, game with 3 points either way in tight games, San Francisco, they hold the edge in those tight games. They win 59% of the time, and if you get in front, 95% of the time. They're leading by 10 or more at half time, 95% of the time. San Francisco go on to win the game. All those sorts of stats and many, many more are available. They are just a small snapshot of the stats that we can provide, those trading stats that no one else will have throughout the year in all the games. We'll be using those extensively in our live trading room on Sunday night when we'll trade 2 Sky games and other selected games throughout the season. We've also got our master tissue. These are the master prices that we've got, and if you refer back to earlier on, we remember that we saw San Francisco on the markets at the moment a little bit shorter. We make them around a 1.56 shot, and Green Bay a 2.78 shot with the line 3.75. So you could use those to maybe see how the market's going, or just simply see where the value is. Judging by our markets at the moment, there's a little bit of value in that Green Bay price at about 3.1. That may be very, very tradable. Of course, we'll have all the strategies to be able to trade that game in the NFL Insight betting room on Sunday nights. That's it from us this week. That's the NFL Betting Guide Week 1 from NFL Insight and our betting preview. We'll be back next week. This is Andy Richmond signing off. We'll be back with more games next week, live from NFL Insight.